Hello, everybody. Thank you so much to everyone who is joining live tonight. And thank you so much to everyone who is watching the replay. Happy Wednesday. Happy Lattes with Laken. If you're new here, I go live every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern to chat about whatever you want to chat about. We talk about goals, we talk about planning, we talk about life, whatever. And we kick it off with our question always, which is, what are you drinking while you're enjoying this video, whether you're watching the replay or here live? If you're here live, let me know down in the chat, what are you drinking while we're hanging out tonight? And if you are watching the replay, if you are part of the replay fam, let us know down in the comments, what are you enjoying while you are watching? I just have water tonight. I am very behind on my water today. There's a number of different reasons, but I'm very behind on my water. So that is what I'm enjoying. Let me check out the chat. Hello, we've got some water, iced coffee. All right, Lisa Marie, it's still 3 p.m. there, so I can give you the iced coffee. If it was an East Coast friend, I would be like, it's a little late for caffeine. Iced tea. Karen, a wonderful dark beer. That sounds so good. Kira, amino energy, some more water. Casey, pre-workout. It still amazes me how late you work out. It's amazing to me. Pink lemonade. Ooh, Emily, that sounds so good. Water. Tammy, you had 0 diet soda today. You're crushing it. You're literally crushing it. I just am so excited for you. And I know that giving up soda, diet soda, has been a journey for you. And I'm so impressed. You're doing such a great job. Amanda, water. I'm super behind on water today too. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I mean, there's a couple things that life's been a little bit crazy today. I spent a good chunk of my morning on hold with American Airlines. Let me actually tell you, I called American Airlines yesterday at almost 5. Let's even call it 5. We'll give them 5 o'clock. I called them. They told me that the wait time was about 4 hours and that I could hang up and they would call me back when it was my turn. And I was like, okay, I don't know if I want to wait 4 hours. That's getting to be my bedtime. So I don't know, but I want to talk to them. And if I wait till tomorrow, it's gonna be another 4 hours. So I pressed yes, you can call me in 4 hours. I stayed up until 10:30. I watched Toy Story 2 yesterday. I watched Toy Story 1 a week or two ago. Anyway, I watched Toy Story 2, waiting for American Airlines to call me. They never called last night. So finally I was like, I'm just going to bed. And they called me this morning at 6:30, really 6:28. So I was about almost, I wasn't going to wake up at 6:30 because I went to bed at 10:30, but I was not awake yet. But my phone rang and I had my watch on. So my watch buzzed and I was like, I have to answer it because it's American Airlines. I don't want to wait another, at that point, over 12 hours. And then I sat on hold for another hour after that. So I answered it at 6:30 and then I listened to hold music for an hour until 7:30. So that's how my day is going. And I needed a large coffee. And that is one of the reasons I'm behind my water. Anyways. Oh my gosh, Lisa Marie, it's 101 there. Whew, that is toasty. Amy, you got the Lazy Genius Way from the library. I'm so excited. I hope that you love it as much as I do. Just literally one of my all-time favorite books. Uma, I'm just now cooking ravioli and you're going to have mango juice. It is late there. It is not dinner time. It is late there. Amanda, did I get the flight rescheduled or whatever I was calling about? I did. Thank you. They were actually very accommodating. Once I finally got to a person, the person was so nice and so helpful, and I got exactly what I needed to get done with them done. Everything is great. It was all good to go. It just was an adventure to actually talk to a human, which is fine. It worked out. All right. Okay. So many fun drinks and so many of us just catching up on our water. So let me know in the comments, in the chat, what do you want to chat about tonight? What questions do you have? What is on your mind? Oh my goodness. He works late, gets home at 1, so you're used to eating dinner. Whew, I can't function that late. Oh, that's a good question. Why I don't use whiteout when I cross out the headers in my plum paper. I just don't like the way whiteout looks, and I don't like writing on whiteout. It's never the same color as the paper, and I don't like the way my handwriting, I don't like it writing on top of it. So for me, I just cross it off. I like that look better than whiting out. But my new plum paper that starts in 14 days has no headers because I was done. I just can't make up my mind. I can't stick to headers for 6 months, I realize, so I'm just better off with no headers. Rachel, summer plans. I do feel like I've got a lot of summer plans. Like looking at my calendars over here, June is chill for the rest of June. Nothing, my future mother-in-law was here this past weekend, but other than that, nothing too crazy for the rest of June. We're going to Oregon for a week in July. We talked about that a little bit last week. My brother is coming to visit for a weekend for his birthday. And then I'm going to Chicago for a week in July/August to visit family and friends. I'm going to still be working that one. Oregon is a vacation. Like I'm not taking my work laptop and taking vacation days. It's a vacation. Chicago is I'm going to work from my mom's house and spend time with my friends and family in the evenings, but I'm still going to be working from Chicago. And then technically still summer, depending on what you believe. Labor Day weekend, we're going to Houston for my fiance's mom's wedding. Sam's mom is getting married. And so we will be in Houston that weekend for that, which is fun. Oh, Tammy, this comment. I would love to talk about and thank the Patreon community for supporting and encouraging you in this goal. Tammy, I remember, that was quite a few lives ago, Q&As that we talked about that goal for you. And so I'm so glad that it's going well. If you have no idea what she's talking about, we have a goal setting Patreon that we're coming up on our 1-year anniversary, which is a little mind blowing to me. And it's like my favorite place on the internet. Amberly, how does Sam like the new apartment and his new office setup? He loves it. That's probably an understatement. He loves his office. It's his little man cave. He is so much more productive. And he also he bought a new TV that he plays video games in there. He spends a lot of time in there, but he loves it. And it's all just working very well. Casey, I'm going on my first relaxy vacation next week. Poolside books seem like they're going to be a big daytime activity, nonfiction or fiction. I feel like vacation is for fun and not working on yourself. I love this question because I have this debate with myself all the time about what books I take on vacation. Am I bringing nonfiction, whatever. So first off, I do always bring at least one nonfiction book with me because I will try to at least read some of that on the plane. So even if I don't read any of the nonfiction book when I'm actually on vacation, like poolside or at the beach, I'm going to read it on the plane. So I take one. I also always try to take a nonfiction book that I haven't started and that I'm really excited about. So I go to my shelf and I'm like, what nonfiction book on this shelf have I not read that I'm really pumped to read? And that's the one that I will take with me. The last time I had this kind of mindset and I did this was for my birthday weekend, and Sam told me to pack books. I had no idea what we were doing. And so I took one fiction and one nonfiction, and I just, instead of taking the nonfiction that I was kind of halfway through, I took a brand new one that I was really excited about. And I did not read it as much as the fiction, but I did read some of it. So that's kind of how I go about that. But if you don't want to take any nonfiction with you on your trip, don't. If you just want to relax and read your fiction, just do that. Katie, newly engaged. Congrats. That's so exciting. How long did you feel like you got to enjoy the engagement before you started planning? So we kind of purposefully took 3 months to enjoy, but it also lined up with the fact that we had a lot going on. So we got engaged in early October 2019. And we had a wedding in Texas. We had a wedding in India. We had Thanksgiving. And then we had home for the holidays in Chicago. And then we had a wedding in China. We just had a lot of stuff for those first 3 months. So any wedding planning I did during those first 3 months was just for fun. It was like flipping through wedding magazines, kind of deciding who my bridesmaids were going to be, fun things like that, nothing super serious until Christmas with my mom. And then I asked my mom to be my matron of honor. And then we got to work. I was going to say got to business. It doesn't make sense. Got to work sort of right around Christmas. And then we went venue shopping in January. And that kind of really kicked off the wedding planning for us. I think it depends on how long you want your engagement to be and what are you doing? Are you getting married in a really high in demand location, a high in demand season. I think it could take off some of the pressure for you if you do some of the big ticket items right away. Like get that venue, get your photographer, like in your date, obviously, like your date, your venue, and your photographer, and then like maybe a dress, like depending on how long your engagement is, but like get those big things done, and then you can relax a little bit before you have to start worrying about the other stuff. Yeah, Lisa Marie, I'm also counting down until I get to start my new one too. Habit trackers are taking over your life and you're so ready for a new planner. So Colleen, what made it so that habit trackers didn't take over my life was using an app, using a habit tracking app of some kind. I obviously use Routinery. I talk about that a lot. I've tried Routine Meister. I've tried I think it's just called Habit. But that is how I got away from having a million different habit trackers in all the different places. Great question, Amanda. Is Sam going to continue to work from home, or will his company go back to the office too? So for those of you that don't know, Sam is a financial advisor, financial planner. I think the two are like, you can use those terms like at the same time. So that is what he does for a living. And now within the last year and a half, and with everything that's been going on, he really is only doing virtual. He's not meeting clients in person. He is doing all virtual client work. And so he can work from home. And so even though the office is opening back up, he's not required to go work there in person. He runs his own financial planning practice. He is in complete control. He just happens to have the office as an option for people that don't have a home office, especially in New York City. It's very common that people don't have that. And it's also a nice location when clients wanted to meet in person to have that office as someone could come and they could meet in that location. Well, now that it's all virtual and now that we have a home office, that was really one of the big drivers too for moving. In addition to me having my own space, actually it was really him first, because before prices really dropped, we were looking at 2 bedrooms so that he would have an office, because he pretty quickly realized that he had no intention to go back to the office, that he liked working from home and virtual was working for him. And he wasn't going to change that about his business. So we originally started looking at 2 bedrooms, and then prices dropped even more that we were able to get a 3-bedroom. But yeah, he is planning to stay home forever at this point. Sammy, any tips on becoming more productive? I feel like my phone sucks up a lot of time because I think I'm going to check Instagram real quick and then I'm scrolling for hours. So my first reaction to this usually is, actually, my first reaction is, what makes you feel like you're not being productive, right? Like, why do you feel like you're not getting things done? Is it because you set a plan for the day and you don't accomplish all those things? And sometimes all that is you are over committing to the things that you can actually get done in a day. There's some quote that I love that's like, we overestimate the things we can get done in a day, underestimate the amount that we can get done. I think it's a month. And then we overestimate what we can get done in a year, and then underestimate what we can get done in like 5 or 10 years. I should look up the quote, but it's a good one. So that's usually when I find when people ask this question, it's that they just are overcommitting for their day. And that's why they don't feel like they're being as productive. But you've already kind of discovered what that root cause of what's making you feel unproductive, and that is spending time on your phone. And so what I would encourage you to do, there's 2 tips here that have worked for me in terms of spending less time on social media on my phone. Actually, I'm gonna give you 3 tips. One is setting a timer when you are going into Instagram. So if you're gonna go open Instagram, you set a timer. It can be whatever you feel like you want it to be, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. When that timer is up, you are done and you go back to whatever you were doing. Number 2 is working in like the Pomodoro method technique, which is 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off. So you set a timer for 25 minutes, you do whatever it is on your list that you're working on, and then you get a 5-minute break. And when you're tempted to check your phone in that 25 minutes, you just tell yourself, nope, when the timer goes off, then I get to check my phone. Tip number 3 is how I reduce my overall amount of time on social media. And that is if you have an iPhone, I don't know if you do, but Droids hopefully have a similar option. You can set an overarching limit on certain apps. So for me, Instagram is also my biggest culprit. So I have an overall time limit on Instagram. And then when I hit that, I'm done. And when I realize that consistently I'm not hitting it, I will go in and I will decrease it by like 10 minutes, 5, 15, something. It depends. Depends on how I'm feeling, but I will decrease it. And then I'll see if I hit it. And like, I can tell when I've had a really like unproductive, I can tell when I've had a day that I spent a lot of time on my phone because I hit that limit like really early in the day. And like, that's not working. What happened? And I kind of analyze how the day went. But if I can get to the end of the day without hitting that limit, then I know that I'm staying within my limits. So I hope something in that little rampage I just shared helps. Ariel, have I ever read A Court of Thorns and Roses? I tried to read the first one a long time ago and could not get into it. But I know that when I tried, I was also not, like I didn't have a good consistent reading routine. This was like kind of in that lull between the end of college and like more recently when I've become much better at hitting my reading goals. So that could also have been the problem. So it is on my list to potentially give another try someday, but not right now. An author suggestion for me, Hannah McKinnon. Thank you, Amy. Corey, do I have a favorite week from the Cook Once Eat All Week cookbook? Yes, week 19 is my favorite week. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's a cookbook that I'm obsessed with. I have not been using it recently. Only the biggest reason I haven't been doing it is that our weekends are packed always. And I can't even find like an hour on Sundays to work on it, to prep the food. But week 19 is my favorite week. Sarah, I am so glad that you are able to make it live the first time. Welcome. This may seem far away, but will you be sticking to your daily planner or do you plan to use a weekly planner for 2022? That is pretty far away. As of right now, I'm planning to stick with the method that I have, which is working for me, weekly in a Google Cal and then daily on the regular, but never say never. I mean, my life might look very different by 2022. I mean, it will because I'm getting married, but like, who knows? Lisa, so we are going to our cabin for 2 weeks and you're going to work for 1 or the 2 weeks. What tips do you have for working from a different location than your normal work from home office space? Great question. So for me, like when we moved to Chicago for 2 months and I worked from there, what was the priority? What were the things that I needed to take and make sure that I would have my setup, like my mouse pad, and some of those things, like even for just a week, it might still be worth it, but some things might not be worth it. To the best of your abilities, I would also like make a plan of what you're going to get done while you're there. That way you can make sure that you have all the things that you need to have, depending on what kind of tools and supplies you work for. And then I would just try and stick to the same routines that you do now working from home, even though it's a different space. So what does your startup routine look like? What does your lunch routine look like? What does your wind down routine look like? And like keep all of those things consistent, even though you're in a different space. Lots of comments in the chat about books and reading. Tracy, great question. Welcome from Australia. Wondering what the difference between Routine Meister and Routinery. So for me, there were a couple things that I really liked about Routinery and why I switched to that one from Routine Meister. The first one is just the overall aesthetic. I just like the aesthetic of Routinery. I like the way that it looks. I like the vibe. It's very clean and simple. It was just prettier than Routine Meister, and I just liked that. I also really liked the streak feature, but I don't really use that now. But if streak is something that inspires you, it like has a gamification where you get to like become a plant at different levels based on your streak. So that is something that motivates you. And what I also love about that within the streak feature is that you don't have to do every single step in your routine in order to get the streak. As long as you do one of the steps in your routine, you get credit for that day and it goes towards your plant. And even better within that, again, I'm not motivated by the streak right now, but if you are motivated by the streak, you also get to pick what days you do the thing. So for example, my morning routine, I only have set through Monday through Friday. My evening routine, I have set Sunday through Thursday. And so it doesn't hurt my streak if I don't do those routines over the weekend. one of the things I love. I love also that you can go back and look at how long the things actually took you. That was one of my biggest frustrations with Routine Meister, is that I could never go back and see how long it actually took me to do that thing. And so if I wanted to adjust the time, it didn't really work. So that is why it works for me. Different people are different. I started using Routine Meister because Cindy from the Queen P recommended it on Instagram. That's where I saw it. And it worked for me. But the problem was it didn't have an Android option. So that is where people went searching, and they found Routinery because it was an Android option. And then we were on a Q&A call for the Patreon community, and somebody was telling me about Routinery and all the different features and things that were working for them. And they were like, oh, well, they have an Apple version. And so then that's when I switched. So it's not that big of a difference in terms of like the overall concept. There's just some of those extra perks. And again, the aesthetic that I prefer. Yes. And Get Sorted is the best app. Guys, I still have a really, really long way to go. I think I'm like 4% of the way through my photos. I have a long way to go, but I love the app, and it definitely helps me at least make some progress on it every single day. Do you have any fiction summer book recommendations? I love reading books that give seasonal vibes. I'm so ready for summer and some beachy books. I don't have any like beachy themed books or like summer themed books off the top of my head. I'm gonna have to think about that one a little bit more. I can't think of anything. But hopefully somebody else will share in the chat or in the comments. Can you update the link for your sticky notes that you use in your plan with Laken videos? The ones are not bringing up the same item. Oh, that's weird. The Amazon link is not working. Yeah, I'll look into that when I'm done. What do you do with all your amazing sticker kits since you don't really use them anymore? So the plan is to use them in my Moxie life for memory keeping. I'm really behind. I got some pictures printed out. I'm making progress. I'm moving up. I think I might make one of my quarterly goals for Q3 is to catch up on memory keeping. That way I'm like caught up. And then for Q4, I can just like finish it and do it at the right time. I'm like really behind. Like the last week I did was the last week in February. I'm really behind. But that is the plan for all my weekly kits. I do have a plan to use them. They're not just, they are sitting collecting dust right now, but they aren't going to be there forever. Lots of recommendations for Beach Read, Hannah McKinnon. Rachel, this is a great point. You love the photo app too, but you have to pick and choose when you go through it because you have a lot of pictures of your late brother. Very sorry for your loss, and I can understand this completely. That going through photos, for some people, you can't just do it whenever. You have to be in the right headspace to work on that kind of a project. For me, most of my photos are like I took 20 of the same planner picture to post one of them on Instagram, and I never went back and deleted those other 20. That's what a lot of my clearing through is. So it's not an emotional experience for me to go through them. And I'm at the point I finished 2018 this week. So I'm on 2019. And I don't have any of that. Like that's after my grandmother has passed. I've already made it past some of those moments for me. So I don't have this issue, but this is a really great point. If you are somebody who's going to consider using the Get Sorted app, to keep this in mind, if this is something that you could potentially struggle with. Lots of beach read recommendations where the crawdads sing, people we meet on vacation. I just saw that recommendation, Rachel, the people we meet on vacation from someone else. I don't remember who it was though. Lots of recommendations. So many good beach reads. All right, I'm all caught up on questions. Yeah, I love the idea of like seasonal reads. I know that Kendra from the Lazy Genius talks about that, but that's just, I don't know, not something I've ever gotten into. I did just book a flight today to go to the beach though. I'm so ready. It's not until November, but it's fine. It's fine. It'll be here before I know it. And then I get to touch the ocean. Oh, I love the beach. I love the beach. Any other questions? What else is on your mind? What else are you struggling with? Is there something that you could use some input to talk through a little bit? Lisa, how is your one little word habit going? It's like your side way of asking me about one little word. It's going. I have found that I really only do it Monday through Thursday. And that's fine. And if that's all that I do it, like that's fine. But last night, and I'm going to blame American Airlines on that one, was the first night that I didn't do it on a weeknight. A Monday through Thursday. Otherwise, I was consistently doing it every Monday through Thursday so far this month. And that's good. It's something. I'm still only doing the 5-minute ones because I haven't worked my way up to the 10-minute. I'm going to go through all the 5-minute ones before I do the 10-minute meditations. But what I have learned about it, and I'm sure I will talk about this in a future video when I like kind of recap that habit and how it's going, is I can't sit still. Like I can't sit still and meditate. So what I'm doing is stretching, which is something I've wanted to incorporate into some routine for a very long time. And so now I think I finally found that if I put those two things together, meditating and stretching, I could get both of them done. I don't know if I will forever leave them in my nighttime, my evening routine, but I have discovered that I can pair them back together. Great question. When you go back to work, will you get your clothing subscription again? So probably not. The biggest reason I canceled the clothing subscription was to save money for the wedding. I canceled before everything even shut down. It just kind of worked out. I canceled in January. So truthfully, so probably not, especially since I'm only going to be in the office 3 days a week. I have plenty of work clothes to get me through that. Maybe someday I'll, after the wedding, I might pick it up again. Nothing against it. I love it. It's just expensive. So. Okay, except for this. I don't usually read seasonal except around the holidays, except that I never feel like I make it through that many Christmas books because between family time and Vlogmas and travel, like I just feel like the holidays, I don't have as much free time to read. Ava, great question. Watching some old weekly vlogs, are you planning on going back to facials before the wedding? So, probably not, partially because the price. I just it's hard to justify, and just we have so many other expenses, and our rent did go up a little bit. And so I just don't think, it's just not something that I'm going to prioritize. I also feel like in the last year, I feel like I've gotten a good grasp on my own skincare. And so I don't feel like I need that. I would love to get a monthly facial if I could make it work in my budget in the future. But right now it's just not something that I'm working on. Do I have a beach packing list or do I use one from somewhere? So, no, I don't. But this is also a trip that we're flying. So I'm not planning to bring all kinds of beach stuff, literally just swimsuits. And I'm hoping that the Airbnb we book will have any other beach things that we might need. Have I been to any of the Long Island beaches? They're your favorite beaches and the reason you're so reluctant to move. Nicole, I have a couple of times. Honestly, they're tough to get to. For somebody without a car, it's hard, I feel to get to the Long Island beaches. And then they're also knowing which ones are free or which ones aren't free or which ones you have to have a certain type of pass. It just always felt like it was too much work. I just have never, I don't know. The whole effort of it has just never felt worth it. And then after this long day at the beach where I sat in the sun and then have to get back on the train to get home, it just it's never really felt worth it to me, but everybody's different. Walking meditations. Oh, that's a good idea. I could potentially try that. I typically listen to my podcasts when I walk, or I talk to my mom because my mom walks a lot. And so she'll call me and be like, I'm walking. Do you want to walk and talk? So it's funny. What has been your June highlight since you weren't able to make it last week? Honestly, in general, it's just been picking back up with wedding planning, checking some things off, making some significant progress, and feeling like I've got the ball moving again, and I can do this, and I can keep going, and we're going to make it. Will I link one little word beginner in the comments? I don't know what you mean by that. I can link the website. It's just Allie Edwards, one little word. If you Google it, it's going to be the first thing that pops up. I don't know that I really have I don't know if there's a specific video, but if you just go to her website, I can link that in the description box after this is over. But I don't really have like a video about it, I guess, if that's what you're asking. When you return to the office, will I have a set work schedule? Do I have flexibility? That's a great question, Lisa Marie. We haven't really talked about that, but I assume it's going to be kind of how it was before. The New York Life general policy is that you are at work from 10 to 4, and then you can flex the other 2 hours to make up a whole 8-hour workday on either end. So you can either work like 8 to 4, 9 to 5, 10 to 6. But what I have found is that some departments are much more open to that leniency than others. And like, I have friends that do that 10 to 6. Like, they are not morning people and they would rather get in at 10 and work till 6. But then I've also had it where people schedule meetings at 9. And so not getting in by 9 is kind of weird. So it is flexible, but it isn't. It feels like people schedule meetings between 9 and 5. So it's like, kind of got to be there between 9 and 5. So that's probably what I will stick with, especially given that I don't really have a commute. Any tips for getting personal goals accomplished when you work two full-time jobs or have a full-time job and go to school full-time? That is a lot. That is a lot of time that you are committed to other things. And like 2 full-time jobs, I mean, that leaves you, if you are getting a good amount of sleep and you are like, I mean, taking care of yourself, there's going to be very little time. If you think about it in the sense that you have 168 hours in the week and you're basically taking 80 hours of those away to work. And so that only leaves you with 88 hours after that. And then taking out however many hours you sleep. I mean, say you sleep 8 hours a night, 64 hours. Now you're down to 24 hours. That is very little time. And I mean, you have to be an adult outside of that. You've got to grocery shop and eat and do laundry and all kinds of, take showers and get ready. And there's a lot of time. So I would, first off, if you don't have time, if this is a season in your life where you are working 2 full-time jobs, or you're a full-time student and you have a full-time job and you're not getting any personal goals done, I think that's okay. I think it's okay that right now you just don't have the time to focus on that. That being said, if you want to find the time and make it a priority, what I would recommend is picking one personal goal that you're going to work on within that 24 hours minus the adulting, right? However much extra time you've got, one goal that you're going to work on in that extra time. Plus, like, I didn't even talk about like social events or like seeing friends and family. And pick small steps, small, tiny baby steps that you can do to make progress on that goal. And just know that your progress is going to be slower in this time of life that you're in. And that is, you're focusing on this one goal, and make the steps fit within your current life season. Heather, am I fluent in Excel? Do I know how to copy a conditional format to an entire spreadsheet? I would consider myself pretty fluent in Excel. That is just something that, as an actuary, you gotta be good at Excel. I know how to copy a conditional format, and I'm pretty sure if you just click that little button in the corner, like whatever the conditional formatting is, I don't know why. Message me and we can talk about this. I also will tell you with Excel, Google's your best friend. Like, I still Google stuff when I'm trying to figure things out at work. So I think if you feel like just Google it. Oh my gosh, Amanda, I don't understand the beach. The water sounds amazing, but the sand is just gross. Okay, so you've lived in a lot of different places and you've never been to a beach that you just felt was beautiful and it was worth the sand. Like, right now, don't go to the beach, because I mean, I love me some Gulf of Mexico, but it's not the most beautiful beaches in the world. But like Siesta Key in Florida or the Caribbean beaches, I've never been to Greece, but those beaches look beautiful. Like, it's amazing. It's so worth the sand. Actually, Siesta Key, you go for the sand because it's so soft on your feet, your toes. You would highly recommend a weekend on Fire Island to make the commute worth it. Yeah, I would love that. We looked into going to the Hamptons for my friend's birthday a couple weeks ago, and it was expensive. like trying to find like an Airbnb. We had 3 couples and we thought like, oh, we'll just find an Airbnb and split it. It was expensive. So that is on our like bucket list of things to do before we leave New York. But trying to figure that out. How do you keep a positive and healthy relationship with food while trying to lose weight and get healthy? This question is personal, and it's my hesitation on answering it is not because it's personal, but it's because I don't have a good answer for you. This is not an area of expertise that I feel like I have mastered. It's not an area of expertise that I feel qualified to give you an answer. If this is something that you're struggling with, if you can make it work in your budget, I would highly recommend working with a professional like dietitian or nutritionist. Who do you recommend on Instagram or YouTube when it comes to time blocking? So Heather, I think if you go back to the old videos that Amy Landino did on YouTube on time blocking, I think that they're valuable. We've talked about this before, but her more recent videos are just not my favorite thing in the world, but her old videos on time blocking. I also think some of Jordan Page's videos on time blocking can be helpful. She has a very different perspective on blocking your time, but again, I think that her videos can be helpful. They don't really talk about it on Instagram, but on YouTube. It also sometimes depends on what you mean by time blocking, because that phrase has gotten so many different definitions attached to it over the last however many years. And so sometimes it's hard to know that what you're clicking on is what you are thinking in your head as time blocking. It's all like people use that phrase interchangeably for a lot of different things. How far out do you plan your content for Instagram and YouTube? So Rachel, for Instagram, it's a month at a time. But then I also I throw in things randomly when I feel like it on Instagram. So I have a month of content planned, but that doesn't always mean that that's what ends up going up. But it lets me plan out some of the more important things on Instagram. For YouTube, I have a rough idea for the rest of the year up until December. But some of the spots are blank. Like it's not every video is not filled in. And then I will add as I get video ideas, I will kind of fill in those slots. So right now the videos are probably filled in through September, August, something like that. And then I will go nail it down the month before, the month of when I film the videos. I'll be like, these are the ones I'm definitely doing. Okay, see, Amanda, you do like some beaches. Portugal, Spain, the Greek islands. You would just rather be in the mountains, and that's totally fine. Everybody's different, whether you like the beach or you like the mountains. I like both too. If it's not warm enough to get in the water, I'm going to pick the mountains. But if it is warm enough to swim, I want the beach because I just love to swim. I just love water and swimming in water. So that is what I'm going to pick. I don't necessarily like being on the water when it's not warm enough to get in. That's not fun for me. So that's my preference. Nat, any tips for choosing new goals? Life completely changed this year with becoming a stay-at-home mom and buying a house, and you feel lost on what's next. So I think we put a lot of pressure on picking the right goals in this right time, and that can prevent us from taking action on things. And I think that if you feel like it's time to switch it up, then switch it up. And whatever were your goals, take them off the list and put some new ones on and just get started and then see how it feels and see if that, you're making progress and if that is something that vibes with you and something that fits into your life. And if it's not, you can always change them. I think that is something that we forget, is that we can always change our goals. We can always change them. If it's something that's not working for us, then we can make them different. And I think that giving ourselves that permission to change them whenever we want makes us scared to pick new ones because we feel like we're locked in on that goal for that set amount of time, when in reality, you could totally change your mind whenever you want because it's your goals in your life. Any tips on using a daily or hourly planner? So I don't use an hourly planner regularly. I have an hourly planner for work because I like to see my meetings, but I don't necessarily plan out my day by the hour because I have found that that is too much structure for me. What I like about the daily planner is being able to turn the page the next day. That is my favorite part, is that if the day didn't go as planned, I don't have to look at it for the rest of the week. I get to turn the page and start fresh. For me, that is the beauty of a daily planner. I think that in terms of tips, I think you find a setup that works for you. And if it is, that may or may not be a daily planner or an hourly planner. And that might not be the best setup for you based on your life and your needs. And I think daily is kind of the thing right now. I switched to a daily fall of 2019. Is that right? I was using the Erin Condren, what is that called? The sewn binding one. That is what I was using at the time because it was like the only daily that I could see that didn't have the hours. I hadn't discovered plum paper yet. But for me, again, it was about needing that fresh start every day, but it also tied really well with the fact that I had started using a digital planner. So when it comes to daily, one of the negatives is you can't map out an entire week or even an entire month. Now, most of them do have monthly layouts that you could map out the month, but that's why I use my Google Cal. And so I think having another place that you map out future stuff so that you're still looking at your month at a glance, you're still looking at your week at a glance, but then you have this daily planner that you check in with every day. Corey, do I have any Father's Day traditions? No, I actually was just thinking that I need to figure that out. I know it's in 4 days. I think I know what I'm going to order my dad. Frickin' Facebook marketing worked, you guys. I don't want to spoil it. I don't think my dad's here, but I don't trust one of my brothers to be watching and then go tell him. But I saw an advertisement on Facebook for something and I was like, I think that's what I'm going to order my dad. And it's one of these things you can order the day before and it'll ship. So thank you for reminding me to do that. I'll probably put it on my list for tomorrow, but no traditions. Growing up, once we moved to Chicago, I never really celebrated those days, Mother's Day and Father's Day, with my parents on those days because I always seemed to have a dance competition or practice or something going on that it just never really seemed to work out to be with the right parent on the right days. During dance competition season, it always seemed like Mother's Day was the only weekend we didn't have a competition. So I pretty much always went down to Texas and spent it with my dad. And then Father's Day was right before nationals. So I was always I couldn't miss rehearsal and go visit my dad. So it was just it was never really something that we celebrated on those specific days. Yeah, Amy's older content's very helpful. Do you have a go-to emoji that you use all the time? Do you use emojis with texting with friends? This is a fun question, Amanda. So yeah, my two most used emojis with friends are the laughing crying emoji, millennial, and I'm not giving it up. And then the monkey that's covering his eyes. That's the other emoji that I use almost daily with friends. Those are my two go-to emojis. I also use hearts a lot. That's always kind of in my recent. And then the guy whose eyes are like this, I use that one a lot too. Do I do a midweek reset, reflect on the beginning of the week and plan how to finish strong for the week? I do not. No, not usually. I just I keep going. I just keep pushing through. I don't do one on my paper, but do I frequently, I was telling somebody about this recently, Thursday morning coffee is kind of going to Starbucks, as a reward is kind of one of my routines as all right, you can do this 2 more days. I got my Starbucks today instead of tomorrow, which is kind of a bummer. I won't be getting it tomorrow, but that's one of my midweek pushes. I don't reflect, but that's how I motivate myself to keep going. Similar question, do you do a mid-year reset? I can't believe we're about halfway. So yes, because I do a quarterly reset every quarter. And so the mid-year reset is just a natural piece of there being a quarterly reset. Did you find it hard to go digital? I'm such a pen and paper kind of girl. Yes, it took me lots of time and lots of years and lots of asking questions of my friends who are Google experts, including my fiance. But once I did, I don't regret it. I love being able to see all my time blocked out, talking about time blocking. Once I figured out time blocking, digital seemed like a requirement. It just seemed like there was no other way I was going to be able to look at my hours that way, except on a digital platform. Tips on being proud of yourself when the outcome of an activity wasn't what you expected, but progress was made. Small progress is still progress. And I think it can be really hard, especially if you have perfectionist tendencies, to celebrate always. But any progress is progress worth celebrating. And if you have to actually write it down and go write it down in a notebook and think about, flip it around. If you had a friend that came to you and told you that this was the progress that they made on something, how would you react? Would you be excited for them? Would you be happy? Would you smile? Would you say that you're proud of them? Would you say that you're impressed? How would you react? That is how we should be reacting for ourselves. Which hourly planner are you using right now? I am still, where is it? I don't know where it went. I'm still using the Lights Planner Action hourly planner, which I do like. The coil has gotten a little bit bent and deformed. The coil she uses is like it's a very thin metal coil. And I think between the move and all kinds of stuff, it got kind of bent. And so the coil's kind of messed up and annoying, but I do like the layout of it for sure. Yeah, Lisa Marie, it's a very Texas specific company. So you likely can't order from this specific company, but I will tell you what the idea is, and you can maybe use a similar one where you're from. How do you find time to get everything done? Well, the first answer to that is I don't get everything done. At the end of the day, I just can't do everything that I would want to do. That's not an option. So what I do is I use my Google Cal and I give everything an amount of time, and then I see how much I can get done. And then I'm much more realistic in my planning of my days. It takes something explodes or something really unexpected has to happen for me to not complete the things in that daily section of my plum paper planner. If you've watched one of my Plan With Me's, that is because I blocked it off in my calendar and I know that there is time set aside to get those things done. But then I also just accept that I'm not getting everything done and that there's less things on the to-do list or on my goals list because there are only so many hours in a day. I really like the mindset, and Nina she presented on this at the very first Go Wild, but then if you're part of Wild University, she has a class on it. It's at 168 hours that I referenced earlier. You have 168 hours in a week. Break them down. And you might be surprised at how much time you really have. And then what I also like to think about is where do you want to be spending that extra time? And I've talked about this in a few different places, like on a podcast, and I don't know if I've ever mentioned it on a live, but pre-shutdown, my hours were either my full-time job, my business, a social commitment, or sleep and adulting. There was no rest. I considered as an extrovert, social activities was rest, sleep was rest, and then vacations were rest. I did not have any in my 168 hours on average. There was very little rest in that time block. Now that then everything shut down, right? And the social stuff got pulled away. Work shrunk because I didn't have to get ready or commute. I could work from home. And so now I had all this extra time in my 168 hours. I did allocate some of that to my business, and that is what created the Patreon community. But more importantly, I started incorporating rest. And now I get a feel for, okay, I have 168 hours in a week. I know about what percent of that needs to be rest. And when I say rest, I mean there's nothing planned. It's white space. It could be a bubble bath. It could be sitting on the couch with Sam watching Netflix. It could be reading a book. It could be whatever I want to fill that with. Maybe if I had other hobbies we talked about before, I'd fill that. Anyways, I feel like I'm going way off tangent from the question that you asked. But I know that I need this percent of my time to be white space or rest. And so then I fill in the space accordingly, and I don't overcommit myself anymore. And I don't get everything done. Do you keep your Google Calendar open on your desktop? Heather, I don't. I use the Google, actually sometimes will just use the app on my phone. It won't, if I don't have my computer open yet, when I fill out my daily planner for the day, I only open it up when I'm messing with it on Sundays or Monday mornings. Amanda, are you getting a new lamp for your office? Was that part of your Home Goods shopping trip? Well, we didn't make it to Home Goods. Maybe we'll go this weekend. We don't have any plans on Sunday, which is like really magical. Maybe we'll go to Home Goods. The day we had planned to go to Home Goods was that like crazy heat wave in the city, and it was like 100 degrees. And I met a friend for brunch, and I like was walking home from brunch, and I was like, I am so hot. I am miserable just walking a couple of blocks home. I cannot fathom going. Home Goods is far from our apartment. And we were going to subway there and then cab back and then carry all that stuff up the stairs. Like it didn't happen. So I do want to look at the lamps when I'm there. I think I mentioned it's not high on the priority list. And so if we don't have the arm capacity to bring the lamp home, it's okay. And Shannon asked, you love the lamp. Do you know, or can you share where it's from? No idea. I think it's probably Target or Home Goods or like TJ Maxx or Marshalls. I've had this lamp since I moved into my apartment 8.5 years ago. Not this apartment, but like when I moved to New York City 8.5 years ago, that lamp is that old. So if you live anywhere near New York and I replace it, you're welcome to this one, this actual one. No promises. It doesn't have any cat hair on the inside. Have you ever followed Laura Vanderkamp? She wrote a book called 160 Hours. You Have More Time Than You Think. I have not, Mindy, but I will add that to my list. I have not. I like this question, Heather. Do you consider yourself a big city girl or a small town girl? So I'm a big city girl now. I mean, I love New York. I love New York. I grew up in a small town. For those of you that are from Texas, if you're familiar, I grew up in Helotes, which is, when I was there was no Target. Okay. There was that H-E-B that is in Helotes wasn't there when I was growing up. And so I grew up in a small town and I did love it and it was fun, but I love living in the city much more. I love being able to walk to everything I need to walk to. I love being able to have access to anything I want to have access to, any type of food. I love having a big not that the San Antonio airport's not big, but I love having a big airport. I love having 3 big airports that I can fly anywhere for usually a pretty reasonable price. So yeah. How do you make time for your goals? That is a loaded question, Kayla, that I don't even know if I can answer in the last 8 minutes here. Kind of going off of the whole. Oh, okay. Are we back? That's a little like, if it's still swirling for you, refresh. That was kind of a weird swirl. Sam's not even here, so I don't understand what could be wrong with the internet. So I think the biggest key here is figuring out how much time, approximately weekly or monthly, how much time you have to work on your goals, and then scheduling the steps, the actual steps that you're going to take within that time. And if it's just a small amount of time, like I was answering to the person who asked earlier about having 2 full-time jobs, it might be a small amount of time, but it could still make an impact. This is something that I feel like I could go on and on about. But if you want to come ask me a question, this might be more kind of a one-off conversation. You're a Texas girl. The heat index with the humidity is 107 today. I do not miss that, Shannon. I do miss the heat, especially in the winter. I definitely miss the heat. Right now, I do not. I do not miss the heat right now. Oh, that's what I'm saying, Heather. Format painter, right? You take the format and then you click the little box in the corner. I'm glad you figured it out. Caitlin, this is a really great suggestion. Watching the day in the life videos, it shows how I fit my goals into my daily life. That is thank you for answering my own question. Thank you for that answer. That is a great point. That it's not like I spend hours on hours on hours. And I don't really spend that much time. I mean, if I think about the things in my power sheets, I keep pointing to them because they're right there. There's not that much time commitment, but it's stuff that moves the needle. It's stuff that is making progress on my goals. So Amanda, why people live there on purpose. Well, you're also in you're in the southern part of Texas. It's hot there, especially right now. The summer is really hard in Texas. That's funny. I don't like to go visit in the summer. That's for sure. We did it backwards last year. Who thought it was a good idea for us to spend the summer months in Texas and the winter months in Chicago? Like, just backwards. Heather, do you have any suggestions for YouTube? The swirl is back. Okay, good thing we're almost done. I don't know what is going on today with the internet, you guys, but good thing we're almost done. Heather, book The Lazy Genius Way. I talk about that all the time. YouTube videos, again, Amy Landino's old stuff, I really think is good. Podcasts, All It Takes is a Goal. I just talked about that in my favorites video by John A. Cuff. 100%. It's awesome. All right. I don't think we're going to win with the internet, and I don't want to risk it. So I am going to switch to our last question, where I'm going to ask you, what is the one thing that you will do this week to make progress on your goals? It doesn't have to be big. In fact, I don't want it to be big, because the smaller it is, the more likely it is that you're actually going to finish this. And that is why the question is will, not what could you do, not what should you do, not what you might do, what you will do between now and next Wednesday to make progress on your goals. Something small that's important to you and your goals. A weird shadow on my face, and I can't really figure out what's causing that. I don't know. All right. Nope, I lost my questions. Oh my gosh. I love these Your Goals with Laken stickers. One page in your memory planner. Love it, Amanda. Download the Routinery app. Small step that you can absolutely do. Call the dentist. That's on my list too. Track your food daily. Lisa Marie, got this. Declining social commitments to focus on your own goals. Man, me too, girl. I need to do that as well. It's getting a little out of hand, the social commitments. I get it. We've all been cooped up and we all want to see each other, but I need some time for me too. Keep reading a business book on your way to work. I love that. Start your mid-year refresh. Hope. I love that. It's here before we know it. The mid-year refresh is here before we know it. Hydration. Yes, I still have one more probably to finish of water. I got a lot of water, but I'm excited about my dinner. So Sam's not even here. I'm going to go eat it by myself. You guys, I just realized that Sam is not here, and that means that we don't get to watch Handmaid's Tale. He's at a networking event. Dang it. I love him. I'm not going to watch it without him. Get outside for 10 minutes on your lunch break. Lisa, that's a great one. Y'all, you can do it. One small step. It may not feel like it's making a big difference, but I promise it is. It's kicking off your momentum for you to continue to make progress. If you wouldn't mind giving this video a thumbs up before you head out, I would greatly appreciate that. And if you are new here, please click that subscribe button. I upload new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday focused on helping you achieve your goals. Thank you so much for watching.